Good morning, students. So yesterday we discussed about protected access specifier, and then I explained to you the table with access limits of class members. Here, the access specifiers: private, protected, public, and the access permission given to the class, subclass, objects. We have still not seen subclass in the coming chapters. You will see that. Okay, till now we are dealing with only one class, and till this the programs that we have seen, we have uh, we have seen that only one class and one object. So only one class and one object created, one object declared. So mostly we came across public access specifier and private access specifier yesterday. So yesterday I explained three programs, right? So I'll just go through that program once again, and today I'll be focusing on one program. And yeah, so in yesterday's program you saw that a new class name was created, customer. So till that all the programs were of employee only. So employee code, employee name, employee designation, like that. So based on that, we changed from public access specifier to private access specifier, and member functions were made. There were one member functions was used, two member functions were used, like that. So in yesterday's program you saw that a new class name customer was created. So as I said yesterday, that based on these classes and object, we can relate with real world problems and create solutions on that. So uh, just to refresh your memory, as you can see in this class definition, private access specifier and public access specifier is both used. So it's possible to use all the access specifiers in the same program. So that means this data members is not accessible, and then this member function only can access the private data members. But in this public member function that is declared here, this is in the class declaration itself, as the class terminates here. So this is the function definition, and this is the function definition. So you in this program you saw that two member functions were used, one to enter the data and one to display the data. Okay, and then in the main function you have seen that since the data members has been declared as private, so object cannot access it. But why do we have to declare the object? Why we need the class name to declare the object, so that to identify it with the uh, class, because the object is created by the class name, and since the class encapsulates the members of the object, so you can see the relation, right? So based on that, the object name is created. As you can see, it's similar, cust and customer. Okay, so now this object, though it cannot access the data members directly, yet keep in mind that only after creating an object, the memory space will be allocated for the data members. Okay, so using the member function, however, since the member functions are made public, so the uh, object can access the data members using the member function. So this is your calling function. Okay, so we have two calling functions: input data and print data. Now, so the result was we got this output. Yeah, so it executes this statement and it executes this statement. So this compound statement and this compound statement. So here as I've already explained to you regarding the gets function. So gets is used to read a string of characters. Gets is used to read a string of characters from the standard input file stdin. Okay, now uh, in here, as you can see that from now onwards you'll see that from previous programs, 2 3 programs, and in almost all the programs you will see that you use the gets instead of the cin, and only in some cases you use the cin, like in here, cin state. Now this will not generate an error. Okay, but in the case of this address and especially like customer name, if you use the C input stream and the customer name has first name and last name, in that case it will generate an error because C input does not support white space or blank space in between. Okay, but the gets function, it accepts character strings with white spaces. Clear? So that is the main difference. Okay, and then yesterday also we discuss about this program. Okay, so here the main difference between this program and the previous program was this is also the customer class. The name of the class is also customer, but the difference was in the first program the functions were defined. In the second program, here the functions are declared, so that is the main difference only. So when we have the functions declared in the class definition, it is only a declaration, right? So this function must be used. So the calling function calls it, and then it is executed outside of the class and the main. So this is your function body, this is your function body. So how do we access it? Using the, so this is your function definition. Okay, so using the scope resolution operator. Okay, if when the member function is declared in the class definition, so the member function has to be defined outside of the class declaration. In that case, we always use the scope resolution operator. Okay, and why do we use the class name along with the scope resolution operator? So that to identify this member function name with this class, because it belongs to the class, this member function belongs to the class customer. Clear? So yesterday also I discussed on that. Okay, so just reminding you why we use the scope resolution operator and why we use the customer. Okay, in the case of void, return type is void. Why? Because simple cout statements are executed. Okay, and no values returned back to the main. Again, we saw this program. So here there was a difference. We came back again to the employee class name. However, some new data members were added. That was the float HRA, that is house rent allowance, and DA, so dearness allowance. So again in here uh, this access specifier is private, and we have public access member functions, that is void input data and void display. But along with that, we saw in this program that it is possible to have a private member function defined, or you can also declare it also. Okay, it can also be declared as like a normal private member function declaration. So but in this case here it is defined. Okay, so this is your function definition because the function body is written here. So in this function body, the dearness allowance formula is calculated 1.2 into salary. Okay, so how do we access it? Using this function name, calculate DA. Okay, so we saw that in this program it is possible to have private member function, and since private data members and private member functions cannot be accessed by the object of its own class, how do we access it? For that reason, we have public member function. So as we have seen that in yesterday's, here you again declare the object emb, and then using the object you are able to access the call the member function, that is input data. So here you enter so the this is the call function, and then it enters the data here. Okay, so again same. Now after that we put the salary, emb salary. So now after this closing braces, control comes back to here. So control comes back to here and then executes the cout statement, the for loop, which will display the equal to symbol 32 times, and then finally this emb dot display, another calling function. Okay, another calling function. So this will display whatever value has been entered by the user. Okay, so the employee code, employee name, like that. So here you start displaying the employee code straight away. Now as you can see that no parameters or no arguments are passed. Why? Because well, when this member function, okay, executes this function body, straight away it will display what values stored in the employee code, because this member function and the data members belongs to the object, are part of the object only. Okay, so it can directly access the employee code, the data that is stored in employee code. Now after that, after displaying the employee code, employee name, employee designation, and employee salary, finally the private member function is written inside the in public member function body. Okay, so that is so in order to access the private member function, you need it has to be written inside the, or it has to be called inside the public member function definition body. Okay, so that is the only way to access. So this is the calling function. It calls this private member function, and then it starts executing this statement. And so 1.2 into EMB salary. As you can see that though it is private member function here, you don't you don't need to pass this parameter EMB salary by this member function. No, otherwise if suppose you passed it here, instead of void it will be like float EMB salary. Okay, but it's not necessary, because this, though it is a private member function, yet it can directly access the data members, that is the value that is stored in EMB salary. Clear on that? So till that we have seen yesterday and today same. Okay, same like the previous one, except that here there are some slight changes. Here again you will see that in today's program there are some new variables that are added, new data members added. Okay, and then along with that a slight modification is done here. So as you will see that in every program small changes is there now. So we are using the same class name, that is the employee and customer. So it is actually very good for you, so that with every small modification, slight modification in the program, in one program to the other, you can get a very much better understanding from the program itself. Okay, so studying these programs from the textbook, okay, will help you understand the solve exercises program, so that you'll find it very easy. Okay, and from the review programs also, you'll find it much more easier to understand. Okay, regarding these classes and object from the solve exercises, okay, this year also I think one program came, I think that was for 5 marks. Okay, so year after year alternatively it used to come. So that's why I said classes and object is very important. Also it is very important for you to understand this, because based on that, inheritance, pointers, constructor, destructors, uh, the base foundation is this. So in this program you'll see that this example shows the class employee program with an expanded public interface. It implements a full set of public member functions that give main access to the private data members. So if you can see in this program, you have your, as the program always starts with the header file, IO stream, con IO, studio, IO manip. We have seen this in class 11, input output manipulator header files, right? Okay, if you remember that Celsius to Fahrenheit, we use this for set precision keywords. So here again we start using the class name employee. So this is the class keyword, this is your user defined class name, that is employee. So within this bracket, within this opening and closing bracket ended by semicolon is your class definition. Here the data members are declared as private again. Okay, so this is your array. Okay, so this is your normal variable declaration, and this is your array declaration. Keep that in mind, that when you see the square bracket, it denotes an array. So and then this is your subscript. Okay, so the size of the employee name can be only up to maximum 20 characters. Employee designation 15. Employee salary is float, and float HRADA. Okay, And like that, again we have a private member function calculate DA. Okay, so here it's written here void. That means it does not accept any parameter or arguments. Okay, now even if we don't write here void also, it's okay. Okay, but just for the user understanding, we can write here void. Now this is the private member function body. In here we see that DA is calculated, the formula is 1.2 into employee salary, and then here itself, using the C output stream, okay, we it displays the DA. Okay, so now again public member functions are there. So public member functions here, now you can see that there are four public member functions. One is input data, display member function, calculate HRA, and calculate gross. So you can see that though all these are public member functions, yet the main ones are this input data and display. So this input data, this uh, this is doing the actual work. That means whatever you are entering from the keyboard, this member function input data will accept, and this will display. This member function calculate HRA and D are part of the formula logic to be executed. So this will uh, this will activate the formula. Now when we come back to the main function, okay, so clear screen. Okay, so here the using the class name employee, the object is declared emb. So now memory space is allocated for the object using so and the data members. So now since the data members are private, so we cannot directly access it. So using the member function emp dot input data, that is using the dot operator. Okay, so now what happened is the control comes back to here, the compiler goes in search of it, and since this is just a membered function prototype declaration, so using the scope resolution operator, it is defined here outside of the class. Okay, so now since this input data member function is just to accept from the user, okay, so in employee code, gets employee name, gets employee designation, and employee salary. Now after that it comes to the closing curly brackets, and then finally after that again it comes back to the next line statement, that is out. Here's the employee information, the for loop gets executed, and after that another calling function is there, emb.display. Okay, now when we come to that emb.display, again the control will come back to the compiler, comes in search of this, and it executes this function, this function body. So it will display this cout statement: employee code, employee name, employee designation, employee salary, allowance. Okay, so after that yes, so after that you can see that here again, just like the previous program, the private member function is in the uh, public member function body. Okay, so when this calling function is encountered, the compiler goes in search, and yes, it executes this void calculate da void. Okay, so this function body is executed here, so it executes the formula this calculate GA 1.2, and then it displays the cout statement. Okay, now after that again, so now the DA value is stored, okay, and it's displayed the dearness allowance. Again after that control comes back here, and then after the closing bracket the control comes back here and executes the next statement. So we have another function call. So you can see that, okay, for every function body, for every function definition, every function definition has a function body or a formal logic to be executed, right? So when you want to execute that part of the program, you will see that in the main function always one function call is there. So that is the purpose of the main function and the calling function. Okay, so keep in mind we have procedural and object oriented programming approach implemented. Okay, so function function oriented programming and object oriented programming. Uh, so here, because of that, the focus is on the data. Keep that in mind. Okay, so now when it executes, when this calling function is called, calculate HRA. Okay, so this is also defined in another function body. So here, void employee calculate HRA. Okay, so HR is equal to 0.15 into employee salary, and that value will be displayed. House rent allowance will be stored in HRA variable. Clear? And then, so as you can see that 0.5 into employee salary, so that value will be directly accessed by the by the member function, and that after multiplying this value, okay, it will be stored in HRA. So see out house rent allowance, it will display the value that is stored in HRE. So if you see the output structure, okay, well, in this case, enter employee code, enter employee name. So this is your first function body, that is the input data. Okay, after that again, when you come back to the main, see out, here is the employee information, right? So this one, here's the employee information, the for loop, see out equals to, so if you count this, it will be 32 times, like that. Okay, so this will go on, this equal to will go on 32 times, and after that, EMB display. Okay, so EMB display, what this does, so it will display all the cout statements of that means, using the cout statement, it will display all the employee code, employee name. So this is exactly what is displayed here, employee code. So what value you have entered, employee code 100, that is displayed here. Okay, and after that again, what happens, uh, calculate DA, right? Calculate DA. So this calculate DA will activate this calling this function definition, and then executes the value 1.2 into employee salary. This will be stored in DA. So see out dearness allowance is DA, right? So that will be dearness allowance is displayed here. Okay, after that again, calculate HRA. Okay, so we come back here. So HRA equals to 0.15 into, so see out house rent allowance will be displayed in here. So step by step. Okay, and then finally again, when we come back to the main function, the final calling function is there, emb dot calculate gross, right? So the compiler comes, goes in search, and it finds here, so this function body gets executed. So here, the gross variable data type is long double, right? So long double is what, this is also a decimal point, this also stores decimal point value, but this stores a larger value, say like decimal point, exactly accurately it can give up to 12 decimal point values starting from the dot, right? Okay, so that means it can hold a larger decimal point value number. Clear? So this is initialized to 0, 0.0. This is just to signify that, okay, it will store this decimal point value. Clear? So the gross formula is applied, gross equals to EMB salary, uh, EMB salary plus HRA plus DA. So now whatever value has been stored in HRA, DA and EMB salary gets added up and stored in gross. So see out gross salary is given us gross. Okay, so this value finally will be displayed. Okay, so now what happened is, by defining this data access function in the public interface, okay, by defining these data access functions in the public interface, instead of allowing direct access to the data members, the class program can change how the data members are stored without affecting programs that uses the class. This is the main goal of data hiding and proper definition of a class public interface or encapsulation. Okay, so this paragraph, try to understand it. Okay, defining this data access function in the public interface, instead of allowing direct access to the data members, okay, the class program can change how the data members are stored without affecting the program that uses the class. So you can see that all the program that we have seen, okay, so it can be implemented in different ways. So here the data members are private, here the member function is private, here the member function is public, okay. So in order to access these data members, private or public member functions are used, okay. So but using this member function only you can enter the data, using this member function only you can display the data, using this member function only you can calculate the formula. So every member function has its own work layout, right? It knows what it's bound to do, okay. So that way restriction imposed using these access specifiers, okay, improves the security of the program also, and like removes unwanted access also, clear. So that way the complexity of the program can be minimized, and we can relate with real world problems, clear. So now class of array, from the beginning of the this chapter we have already been using this array only, okay. So here it's more better defined here, the class of array, okay. So uh, the data members of a class can be declared as class of array. When a data member is declared as an array type, then the data member access the number of storage values into the variable. The array in the class can be private or public, but if public, the data member can be accessed directly by using the class object. We have already seen that. And if private, the data members are accessed by the member functions only. So, for example, the employee class contains a data member as uh, emb name 25, which tells that the class employee declares an array of employee name of 25 character storage array. So like I've said that here this is a normal variable, right? But this is an array name, right? An array name with a subscript or index 20. So maximum the employee name will be only up to 20 characters long, okay. That's why the data type is character. Now, so how will the in a if suppose this is employee code is also an array, if suppose here if suppose within the square bracket the size is given 10. Now in the case of this one, since it is integer, it will create the array element, okay, emb code 0. The array index subscript or index always starts with 0, right? Okay, and always one less than the number that is written here. So if it is 10, the last array element index will be 9, like that. Okay, so so that is a class of array, okay. So in every program, like I said, array will be there, okay. So class area of class object, now this we'll discuss tomorrow, okay. So this is slightly a bit different program, okay. So from here again we'll be discussing about inline function. So there are some slight changes in each program, clear. So I hope that you have understood from this explanation, and if you have any doubts you can message me or you can ask me directly, okay. So I hope that yesterday's video, that is uh, was a bit clear in terms of the resolution, okay. So today also I'll try my best to make the resolution higher, okay. So yeah.